this is gonna be a quick one. It's time to review Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Wow. I absolutely fucking love this game. There were very few things in this game that I had to criticize, and the only things I really had to criticize were tiny, small, little quality of life additions that I felt could have been made to the game. The graphics were fantastic. Okay, we have to go in with this, that it's the mindset of a AA game, this studio's first creation. There are ex-Ubisoft developers on this team, and if I was Ubisoft right now, I would be kicking myself over the fact that we got rid of these people, or we didn't find a way to keep these people around. When you have developers and writers who are actually passionate about this industry, and they actually take the time to understand the characters and make them feel alive and flawed, and it goes to show how great writers can be. When they're not raging activists, when they're actually focused on just creating something good and memorable. This is basically a sweep across the board, the best ratings I could give it. Graphics are fantastic. The textures, the different structures, the architecture, the facial expressions. Some of these facial expressions were slightly off, but not many of them. The graphics were beautiful. So I'm going fantastic. Aesthetic, it was perfection. The world felt alive. The characters felt important in the world. I loved the aesthetic. I know we compared it to like Lies of P a couple of times there. The magic was beautiful. It fit in. The cinematics themselves, very immersive. Absolutely loved it. Music, this is going to be my soundtrack of the year. Last year, my soundtrack of the year was Stellar Blade. Black Myth Wukong was my game of the year last year, but Stellar Blade had a phenomenal soundtrack. This is one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard in a video game. The OST, every single thing fit. From the emotional moments where it was more like a music box, to the very intense songs when you're in boss fights. It felt emotional when it needed to. It felt intense. There was never a moment where I said to myself, there's not any music, or there's not enough, or it doesn't fit. The music was amazing. My OST of the year. I can already say it that there's, of course, there's games that are like Doom that are going to be coming out that I'm sure the OST is going to be really good. Don't get me wrong. This was perfect in every way, shape, or form. Music is fantastic. You have a string instrument bias, though. Why do you have to call me out like that, Rover? I mean, it's true, but also, geez, hurting me a little bit. Difficulty, I played on normal. I have heard that the higher difficulty is extremely difficult. I thought, and we'll get into the gameplay in a second, but I thought the difficulty was really good. If you parry everything and you dodge everything, and you can take no damage. You can defeat any enemy. Obviously towards the end, we got the painted abilities, and we became so extremely OP. There was a time we dealt over 700,000 damage in one hit. That was crazy. Obviously, you don't have to use those, but I would say the difficulty is, I'll say average. I felt that there was nothing wrong with the normal or average difficulty. It was really well done. I've talked a lot about like turn-based games, especially over the past couple of months and the past couple of weeks because of this game. Turn-based was never dead, but we have seen a lot of companies move away from turn-based with their main franchises, like Square Enix. They obviously still release games that are turn-based, but they moved away from that with something like Final Fantasy. And while turn-based has never fully gone away, I think that this highlights a perfect balance of turn-based while also featuring action. I personally loved the parry and dodge system. The boss fights themselves and the way that the combat interacts with them is also phenomenal. It reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy 16. One of the things I absolutely loved about FF16 is how cinematic the boss fights were. And I felt in this game, the combat along with those cinematic boss fights was phenomenally balanced. So I just have to say that. The bugs, we did not face... Yeah, we did not face any bugs. We did not face any glitches. We did not face any technical difficulties, which is awesome. There are AAA games that cost $500 million that come out now that have fucking bugs and glitches and the game crashes and it sucks. None of that in this game. I personally, I mean, maybe you guys noticed something or remember something from this playthrough, but in the, whatever it is, 30 hours that we've been playing it, I do not remember facing any bugs or glitches, which is obviously very rare for new games. The story's fantastic, and the characters that you experience in this world and how much you fall in love with them and care about them is so good. The premise of the Paintress ticking down the monolith every single year and then the Gamage was so unique. And then the expeditions going out and you're going around, you're collecting the lore and you're learning about the expeditions was super cool, and you can see the way that they had actually affected it. And without them, you wouldn't have made it that far. Because like with Expedition 69, I know it's been a meme, they're the ones who place the climbing mechanisms. Without them, there would be so many inaccessible areas. Like, they all affected the world and were so very important. And then, of course, you have the family dynamic of like Mayel and Verso, and there were so many different twists that were so well executed, and I loved how the boss fights lined up with the story. Like, you face Renoir multiple times, but it's technically different versions of Renoir, and each time he's got like a different mentality. That was really well done. And of course, every single individual character had such a great story to go along with the main one. Like learning about Seal and her unfortunate fate with the husband and the swimming and the baby, and how Esquier was the one who ended up saving her. And I loved Esquier. Esquier was so phenomenal. If they ever put out an Esquier plushie, I'm buying it. And obviously, it tugs at your heartstrings a lot when characters like Gustave ended up biting the dust. That was heartbreaking. But every decision that is made makes sense. It's not a game or a story where they just start killing off characters to make you sad or mad. Like, every single one is so intentional. Yeah, the fake out and ending too, where everyone thought the game was ending, was so cool and so well done. I absolutely love the story. Between the two endings, they both provide different elements in different ways that the story ends, in like different viewpoints. I think I love each one for different reasons. Verso's makes the most sense. I don't know if they've specified if either are canon, because sometimes developers will say, well, technically this ending's canon. I would assume that Verso's is the more canon one. Either way, fantastic story across the board. Gameplay was also really good. The turn-based, along with the action elements, was so good. I'm gonna go challenging yet amazing. I didn't really have any major problems with it. Of course, there were times where I was slightly underleveled, but it didn't really, like, ruin the experience or anything. Quality of life, the only small things that I could say that I could even remotely criticize her, I wish there was a mini-map. It doesn't have to be permanent. It could be toggleable. A toggleable mini-map would have been great, and a ping system, so that I could place a ping on the map, and then it would show kind of the general direction where I was going, like whether it's like a bright red beam or golden beam or something like that, so I didn't have to check my map 2 or 3 times. If either of those were there, that would have been great. Also, one thing I loved is it's their yellow paint system, where it's the lanterns. So when you're going through the areas, if you follow the lanterns, it will be the main path. Like above you, there will be a string of lanterns, or on the ground, they'll be strewn around. That was really fucking well done. I really like that. Small thing. It's technically yellow paint, right? But it was implemented into the world so well that was really good. But I'm gonna say perfect, because there's only like 1 or 2 tiny quality of life things that I could even begin to criticize. I missed so many things because the paths were so long that I thought I was on the right path instead of the wrong path that led to the treasure. Yeah, definitely. The game time, let me check our playthrough really quickly. Obviously, we did not do everything that the game had to offer. We did a lot of the content, though. So about 32 to 33 hours is what we put into the game, which is on the longer side. You're starting to get into the category of course, there will always be people complaining like, oh my gosh, it's so long. I think that 30 to 50 hours is the sweet spot for me personally. Of course, you could have ran through this game and you could have done it very quickly. I enjoyed the amount of time I put into it, and this is definitely a game that I would go back and finish all of the side content. So yeah, long, 33 to 35-ish hours. Price, I complain a lot about video games being 70. And now, of course, there are going to be games that go up to 80. That's going to be frustrating. For a $50 game, being this polished, being this well written, having this amazing soundtrack and story, this is a game that I would say would be worth $80. And you guys know, very rarely do I say a game is worth the full price tag. Typically, it's not. This is a game that I would recommend paying $80 for, and it's not even 80, it's 50. It is most certainly worth the full price. I mean, the game sold out worldwide physically for a reason. You can play this through Game Pass, you can play it digital. This was phenomenal. Definitely worth the full price of $50. Replayability, I will probably finish this this save that we have. I would definitely replay this though. I don't think that it has unlimited replayability, right? Very few games do, but a handful of playthroughs for sure. I would definitely replay this. And now that I know the endings, I do not think that this game should get a DLC. I think it needs a sequel. With those 2 endings, I don't, unless it was a DLC that was put into the middle of the game, like Shadow of the Erdtree technically takes place 3/4 of the way through Elden Ring. That would make sense, but a DLC of after the fact would completely throw off the balance of the game, in my opinion. I think that these developers should go straight to a sequel. That would be phenomenal. But yeah, because initially there were people saying, oh no, it should get a DLC. I don't necessarily think so, unless it's 3/4 of the way through or a sequel. Handful of playthroughs, though. This game... Whew. Oh my gosh. I thought that this was a phenomenal experience. I know that we are 5 months of the way through the year. We've still got half a year left. I do not see a way that a game is going to top this. I think that there are other games that are going to be amazing this year, right? I've loved First Berserker Kazan. I think that that's really great. Monster Hunter Wilds was really good. I think Doom is going to be super fun. I think Elden Ring Night Rain is going to be super fun. This is on the level of Black Myth Wukong. Last year, I gave Black Myth Wukong a 9.5, and I am also giving this a 9.5. It is a phenomenal game. I genuinely, I don't see how anything could top that this year, and this is going in my list of my favorite games of all time, which is crazy to say, right? Because I don't want to say this game came out of nowhere, because it was pretty hyped up leading up to launch, but this is on the level of Black Myth Wukong. I've loved some other games that have come out this year. Again, like Kazan, I think Kazan is great. Kazan's like a 8.5. This is a 9.5. This is my game of the year. And you guys know I don't like to be hasty when it comes to my ratings. Or saying, like, this is the best game ever. I do not think that there is a way that literally anything could top this. I don't even think a GTA 6 or an Elder Scrolls, well, 6 could, I think it could get close. I don't think it could be bumped up to a 10 though. Who knows? You guys know I've rated very few games a 10. I am someone of the mindset that doesn't really think that 10 out of 10s truly exist. Everything has some criticism that could be levied towards it. This is a 9.5 for me. I can't put it as the score, but asterisk, this is a 9.5 for me. I thought that this was a phenomenal game. This is a game that is going to eat away at me. And what I mean by that is I'm going to be thinking about this game so much, and it's in the back of my head, and I'm going to be comparing the story to any other books I read or games that I play. This was really great. 9.33. That would be the on-theme score to give it. I went into this game expecting it to be an 8. Like a 7.5 to an 8, right? Months ago when we saw the teasers and trailers, I said, oh, this looks like it'll be a good game. It'll probably be an 8. I did not expect it to be this fucking amazing. This was phenomenal all around. I have no other word to really describe it, guys. I know I keep repeating myself, but holy fuck. This was amazing.